Hello and welcome to ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups, technology and entrepreneurship. As you know, we've really kept it with GST last week, this week as well. And the issue that we're going to analyze today is something that everyone's been hoping for because of GST. It's the larger impact that this is going to have on jobs. A lot of numbers flying around. Some people say that it could generate over 1 lakh jobs going forward, that there is going to be a huge demand for professionals as a lot of small businesses make the transition to GST. It's also going to open up a lot of opportunity for startups. Now, to really analyze this, to really find out if the job creation around GST is fact or fiction, we have a very special panel lined up here on Startup Central. We have V Balakrishnan, the former CFO of Infosys. Interestingly, he's also an investor in a startup that's providing services for GST. We also have Rituparna Chakraborty. She's the co-founder and executive vice president of Team Lead Services. She also heads the Staffing Federation of India. And we also have Kris Lakshmikant joining us from the Bangalore studio. He is the head of Headhunters India. Thank you all for joining us on Startup Central. Bala, I'm going to come to you first. Lot of numbers doing the rounds as far as GST and job creation are concerned. Have you had a chance to look at all this data, all these numbers? What is your own sense on the kind of job creation that GST will have?
No, it's very difficult to put a number to it, but I think GST will create a billion-dollar opportunity for service players, because there are two set of companies. One is the formal economy, where your large corporates and medium-sized corporates who have better technology, they have their core ERP. Now they have to implement or customize their ERP to be compliant with the new GST technology. So there will be a lot of opportunities for the service players there. For the informal economy, they have to onboard into the new GST ecosystem. That involves helping them to onboard into the GST network, helping them to file returns, helping them to reconcile. So that is a huge employment opportunity in the informal sector moving to the formal sector. And there are also a lot of startup companies coming up which are helping corporates to seamlessly get into the GST ecosystem, and they're also creating employment. And after the GST stabilizes, I think GST is going to throw up a lot of data. And how do you analyze the data? How do you make use of the data? That is another industry which will come up. So I think GST is definitely a multi-billion-dollar service opportunities in India, and it's very difficult to put a number on how much exactly employment is going to create.
Okay. So billion-dollar opportunity according to V Balakrishnan, not just for the informal economy, but also the formal economy, because remember, a lot of companies have to update their ERP to really comply with GST. So that's a big opportunity for IT companies. But Rituparna, what is your own estimate as far as this is concerned? Have you guys been able to actually come up with numbers, with an estimate as far as job creation is concerned?
Definitely positive. I think the biggest boost comes from the fact that GST will take away any sort of attraction that organizations, whether small or big, had in terms of deploying workforce through informal channels. I think it will drive formalization of workforce in a big way to begin with. Besides that, I think quite a significant number of sectors immediately stand to benefit, and that would actually lead to increase in demand, and that would we believe that would actually go on to increase the level of jobs that are available, nothing less than 10 to 13%, and my belief is that also happens to be a conservative estimate.
Right. Rituparna, I'm going to come back to you for more details on, the sectors and also the states. But Kris Lakshmikant, you heard out V Balakrishnan and also, Rituparna of team leaves. Broadly, the perception is positive on job creation. But, take us through what your own sense is. Are we sort of, hyping this up, exaggerating it for more than what it's going to be? What is your own sense of the kind of job creation that GST will lead to?
See, if you look at it, GST, there are about 34 service providers authorized by the Government of India, and they have made the software easy. It can be integrated with SAP, it can be integrated with any ERP, with Tally and so on. So it is not going to be a stupendous exercise. What you are doing normally, you will have to change to this. Every company has an invoicing process that has to be changed. As long as you are paying service tax or sales tax, you are already there in the net. So all you have to do is to change to this software. The software is not very costly. It is on the cloud, and the price varies between 3,000 to 5,000 rupees per month, which you have to pay. For all you know, it might be cheaper for the establishment to go through this rather than the present one, number one. Number two, yes, there must be at least 150,000 to 200,000 people, companies who are not on the net, who are not being paying taxes, and they will come into it primarily because they want to get credit for the GST they are paying. So those companies will come into the net, and there the job opportunities will come. It may not come in the large companies, it may not come in the companies which are already paying service tax and excise duty and so on, but it will come in the companies who are not there, who are right now nowhere there in the net. Those companies are now, they will find it advantageous to get into service tax registration, and this whole process will not happen overnight. My feeling is that there is a lot of confusion. It will take 3 months to 6 months before entire process is over. During this period, you will find that these chartered accountants, they are the best people, they are the people who are going to benefit most. In fact, Prime Minister Modi addressed the chartered accountants and he wanted their support, and I am sure all of them are very eager to take it on, including my chartered accountant, because this means good money for them. There are a lot of complications, but if you look at it in terms of numbers, in this year I expect about 100,000 to 200,000 people will be required. I am talking about the total year ending in March of 2018. Next year, by which things would have stabilized, the numbers would have come down radically. It could be 10 to 15,000 per year. It won't go up because of GST, but other things can happen because of GST. The consumption in the economy may go up, and all other things can happen. Like many of the goods, the prices are coming down.
Right.
Yes, Chandra.
Right, Mr. Lakshmikant, that's a huge estimate that you've given. 1 lakh to 2 lakh jobs within the next year alone. I'm going to come back to you for more details, but Ritu, I also want to get your perspective on this. Which sectors do you believe will benefit the most from job creation? The obvious candidates, like Mr. Lakshmikant was pointing out, are, the CAs who have a lot of work now on compliance, but which sectors are likely to benefit the most?
I think the sectors which will benefit across the country, of course, is e-commerce, logistics, consumer durable, pharma, to name a few. In the long run, you would see the benefit translating across sectors. But I think immediate impact you will see showing up in these sectors, and our estimate again is that on an average across these sectors, you will see an increase in demand to the tune of 10, and it can go up to 19% also in some cases.
Mr. Kris Lakshmikant, 1 lakh to 2 lakh is a huge number on the face of it. Back those numbers up for us, give us some evidence to show that this will be possible. What is giving you the conviction to give such a huge projection?
Madam, if you look at it, the recent demonetization has led to number of companies going out of the net or being identified by the government. So if you take that, plus you take also the traders who are not registered now the small scale units who are not registered now, you will find that for them it's beneficial by getting into the GST process. Now these companies who are not right now service tax compliant or excise duty compliant, they have to add software, they have to add people. That is why I am so confident that this 100,000 to 200,000, because primarily nobody knows how many numbers are there, who will become compliant because of this, who will be coming into the market. Say a small company like us, we will not require any new addition in terms of manpower, because the conversion to the regular GST process is not going to be very difficult. But if you are not in the net tax net, you will find it difficult, you will have to do it, and there are benefits. For instance, I was seeing the other day, my finance man was saying that if we register with Jet Airways, we will get service tax, we can take the GST from that and offset against our GST. Now these are things which were never there earlier. You couldn't get a service tax on an air ticket. But today, if we give our GST number, we can get it. So a lot of benefits will come if I am going to be GST compliant, and I also expect my supplier to be GST compliant.
Right. Thanks for that, Mr. Lakshmikant. Bala, I'm going to take it back to you to really address the core of this discussion, which is GST job creation, myth or reality, fact or fiction. Based on everything that's been said, that's been discussed, what is your own take as far as this issue is concerned? Is this fact? Is this fiction?
There will always be a lot of hype when a large transition happens in the economy. Having said that, I think it is definitely going to create employment. The biggest challenge in India today is employment creation. In the last few years, we have not seen much employment creation happening, whereas we have to create more than 1 crore of jobs every year in the economy. So definitely it's a good step forward, but there will always be a lot of hype when a big transition happens. We have seen that in several instances in the past.
Bala, are we also underestimating the impact that, automation and technology is going to have? Currently, there is a lot of confusion, there's a lot of uncertainty. Therefore, you need so many people to, guide you through the process, to help you with compliance. Therefore, tax professionals are in demand, CAs are in demand. But once people get the hang of GST, how to use things on the GST technology platform, will you actually need so many people going forward in the long term?
No, I think on the technology side, it is going to be seamless, because you have a good architecture in the GST and platform, and a lot of startups are creating the ecosystem for companies to seamlessly onboard into the new GST ecosystem. But I think the complexities of the earlier tax regime is continuing in the new tax regime. If GST is a good step forward, yes, it's definitely a good step forward. But the way the implementation happened, it is too complex. It is not going to remove the classification issues. That is one of the primary aim of implementing a GST in any economy. We have multiplicity of taxes, the classification issues, the legal issues around that, all that is going to continue. So I think there is a huge opportunity for chartered accountants and lawyers because of the way the GST is implemented.
I wonder if there is a situation where chartered accountants and lawyers don't make money. But Bala, the other point that I wanted to touch upon was, are these long-term sustainable jobs something that will last for the next 5 years, 10 years, or are these going to be needs, say, in the next 2 years, and then it will die down? In terms of the nature of jobs, how is it going to pan out?
No, I think in the immediate future, you're going to see a lot of job opportunities emerging, because people want to move away from the current tax regime to the new GST tax regime. So there are a lot of job opportunities which comes in terms of consultants, the technology guys who comes and customize your product, and also a lot of startups building products around it. But once it stabilizes, how do we use the data in the GST network becomes much more important, right? Because today one of the things this country lacks is the statistical data about the economy. So GST will throw up a lot of data. We have to figure out how to use the data to get better idea about the economy. So there is a lot of peripheral technology play which will come around the GST network. Of course, it will not be as high as what we see today on the demand on the employment, but I think there will be a sustainable business which can be built around the GST and ecosystems for the economy in the near future.
Yeah. Ritu, coming back to you, what in your own sense is going to be the nature of employment as far as GST is concerned?
Look, there would be, of course, formalization I mean, honestly, in my view, GST is probably the best labor reform that India has witnessed in a long time. And that's largely on account of the fact that it will drive a lot of formalization, which essentially means that a lot of jobs which were earlier going unaccounted for in the informal sector, of course, will move on into the formal sector. But leaving that aside, I also anticipate a lot of new job creation on account of higher profitability which some sectors would be sitting on. And on account of the uniformity, it brings in a lot of predictability for organization, which helps them explore newer markets, expand, and that would lead to new job creation. The functions that we feel where most impact will happen would be largely again sales, logistics, customer support.
Mr. Kris Lakshmikant, what's your own take on this? The same question that I had for Bala. Are we overestimating the number of jobs here because of GST? Because at some point, technology, automation will kick in, because, the entire filing, everything is happening on the GST technology platform, which GSTN has built. You also have the Suvidha providers building services on top of that. So this acute demand for finance professionals, tax professionals, is it just going to be a short-term thing?
Madam, whenever any new law comes, you will find the number of accountants, number of chartered accountants, number of lawyers will go up, because there will be appeal, counter appeal, and it will go up to the Supreme Court. So you can expect that the accountants and the lawyers will be very happy with this. That doesn't mean that you will get millions of jobs from that. But what I am saying is, there is a very big unorganized sector who are not today, issuing invoices, or if they issue the invoices, they may not be GST compliant. Now, the moment I, as a consumer, I am talking of an institutional consumer, I want to buy, let's assume 25 PCs. That is what our people wanted yesterday. So we talked to 2-3 vendors. Only one of them was willing to give us a GST invoice. The other 2 said we cannot give. I am talking of big retailers in Bangalore. So the person who is GST compliant, he will obviously get an advantage. So everybody will be forced to become GST compliant. Even any purchase we do today as an institution, as a company, all of us, we would like to buy it from vendors who are GST compliant, because then we get the credit. So you will see that more and more companies will come into the net because of this. Not for being nice to Mr. Modi or anybody, but because the customers will demand it. That is how this whole revolution will take place. Now, regarding jobs, these 100 to 200,000 people who are not in the net organizations, they will be forced to come in, and they will create jobs, number one, because they may not have the organization for that. But look at it, if you take a retailer, you go down interiors, you go to Bangalore, you go to Mysore, you will find that the retailer is still having a scanner, he has a computer, he has a cash register which is now a computer. He asks for your number and he will be able to scan and do it. So already a lot of computerization has happened in this country. A lot of people are comfortable with computers, and this will also help with that. Digitalization will definitely help in creating employment.
Right. Mr. Lakshmikant, a follow-up question for you in terms of, the skill sets required. So for people watching the show who want to benefit from GST and job creation, if you can list out 3 or 4 skill sets or qualifications they must have, please don't tell me chartered accountants, lawyers, because all of us cannot have those qualifications. But for others as well, what other ancillary opportunities do you see? What other skill sets can people acquire to really get a job in a GST era?
Madam, if you look at the GST software which is being provided by the compliance people, by the compliance service people, you will find it's very easy. They are actually, if you go online, they have a demo, you can see the demo, and a person of say class 10 can also do it. It's a very simple thing. You don't need, even for Tally you need training. For GST you don't need that sort of training, number one. Number two, the point is the number of people, number of organizations, number of institutions, number of retailers who will get into this and will increase substantially. That is why I am talking of this 100,000 to 200,000 jobs being created. Whether they will continue year 2, we have 100,000? I doubt. It will come down because the lesser number of people will be outside the tax net. But year 1 there will be a spurt, there will be a boom, and the people required for this are not the chartered accountants or the lawyers, but you need simple people who can be even a +2. He can do this work. It's quite simple, and you don't need to know Tally. All you need to know is to interface Tally with this, which a consultant will come and do it one time and go away.
Okay.
See,
that sounds promising because the biggest crisis. That sounds promising, Mr. Lakshmikant, but I'm also going to get Bala to come in on this. Bala, can you draw up a list of skill sets that will be in demand, not just the CAs, lawyers, but also on the technology side?
No, I think there are 3 large players who will have a stake in the employment generation happening due to GST. One is the CAs, because there are a lot of complications around compliance, a lot of complications around classification and all that. Lawyers, as I said, litigation is not going to go away. And third, I think technology guys. In the technology, the traditional coders who can come and create a lot of APIs around GST and network and create a lot of innovative products, but there will also be data analysts and artificial intelligence professionals who can create a lot of innovative products around this ecosystem. So I think the general technologists plus the specialists like AI or a data scientist, those kind of resources will be on high demand.
Thanks so much, Bala, Mr. Lakshmikant, as well as Rituparna Chakraborty, for giving us that all-rounded perspective on the job creation from GST. So getting back to the core of our discussion, it's certainly not completely fiction. There are going to be a lot of jobs, and not just for the chartered accountants and lawyers, but as Mr. Lakshmikant said, a lot of opportunity even if you've passed out of 12th standard, because getting trained in GST compliance software is not going to be that difficult. So a lot of scope for job creation. Bala is also classified into 3 categories. So apart from CAs, lawyers, techies, remember the technology industry, IT industry has really been going through a tough phase because of layoffs. But at least here, techies will be in demand from 2 aspects. One, of course, is the implementation of core ERP as companies transition to GST. They also have opportunities to build services on top of the GST network. A lot of startups are already doing that. So that could be another avenue of employment. But on that positive note, I'm coming to the end of this edition of ET Now Startup Central. We will, of course, review how all this has panned out a few weeks, months from now. But that's it from here.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/etnow.